Hello and welcome everybody to our Luxe Tours webinar. Our apologies for a bit of a delay. I don't know if anyone realises, but we only actually just got internet in New Zealand, so we're all getting used to how to use it and navigate it. But here we are, only 8 minutes late. So thank you very much for your patience. My name's Toby. I'm the owner of Luxe Tours. We're a Milford Sound family-operated tour operator here in Te Anau, the beautiful Te Anau here in Fiordland, as well as operating tours out of Queenstown to Milford Sound every day. We've operated over 1,500 single tours, and today you're going to learn some of our experience on the tours. We're going to try and keep things as unbiased as possible. Yes, our guides that I will soon introduce you to will be talking about the tour from their perspective, but it's really actually applicable to all or most of the tours that operate to Milford Sound. So there will be a bit of first-hand experience, a wee bit of bias there, but we'll try and keep it out as much as possible. So we've got about 45 minutes of lots of information for you tonight. Welcome, by the way, to all our friends in Australia, Singapore, the UK, the US. If you're awake in the US, I highly doubt it, but if you have tuned in, thank you very much. And everybody else all across the world, if you are joining us. Now, here's the things that we're going to cover today. As I say, very shortly, I'll introduce our two real guides who are going to do quite a bit of the talking with me tonight. But we'll talk about booking your tour, whether that's with us or another tour company, add-ons that you can expect for Milford Sound, how the pre-tour process works, the sort of information that you're going to get. Then we'll talk about, very importantly, the pickups for your tour, both from Te Anau and Queenstown, and the subtle differences between them. We'll talk about our tour vans specifically, the tour schedules that you'll find across most tours, the nature stops, the inclusions, small group versus large group, that's an interesting one, and what works best for different people. Te Anau versus Queenstown, and I'm sure our guides are looking forward to battling it out about what is the better option and who they're more suitable to. And then the benefits of a tour versus self-driving. We will talk a little bit about self-driving, especially when it comes to safety considerations, which is something that is hot on the agenda at the moment here in Fiordland, as we have quite a bit of snow around, quite a bit of weather around. We'll talk about what you need to be thinking about if you are travelling between roughly the months of July through to around early November. Then at the end, we will have a Q&A session. And I just want to stress, if you have any questions or comments at all, throw them into the chat there. No question is silly. We get all sorts of questions here at Luxe through our reservations team, so happy to answer those tonight. We do have some team members in the background as well that'll be helping with answering those questions. So who am I? I'm the owner of Luxe Tours, as I said, along with my wife, Caitlin. We've been operating Luxe Tours for 3 years now. And without further ado, I'll introduce our superstars of the webinar tonight. So first of all, I'll bring in our lead guide, Murray, based in Te Anau, and then also Adrian from Queenstown. So welcome, guys. Thank you very, very much for giving up your time tonight. And these guys have actually been on the road today. Adrian, you've actually just finished. Welcome, mate. Murray, do you want to give us a quick intro?
Yeah, hey team. Welcome to everybody down here from Te Anau, I guess. My name's Murray Patterson, and I've been pretty fortunate to be working for Luxe Tours for the last two and a half years or so, 3 years. Come on board, employee number one, I think. So now these guys are stuck with me. It's going to take a bomb and a crowbar to get rid of me, I think. Have a wonderful time. I just been out on the road today with 3 lovely people, and usually somewhere along the way I'm talking about the fact that it doesn't really feel like a job. I just drive around town in the morning and pick up some new friends and off we go, and that about sums it up, actually, to be honest. And we go away exploring for the day.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Murray. And Adrian, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Adrian Snowden, so I'm one of the guides from Queenstown here. Been out on the road today, having an awesome day in Milford Sound, seeing Murray there along the way. Yeah, I've been working with Luxe Tours now for almost a year, actually. It's come up very quick, and I haven't regretted a single minute of working with Luxe and being part of the team. Yeah, Milford Sound's one of those places that you just certainly don't want to miss. And I mean, you might come across me or Murray or whoever, but it's a pretty special place to be.
Hopefully this webinar, Adrian, doesn't convince you to leave or anything. You're not nervous, I hope. All right, so we'll jump into it. Thank you very much, guys. So I'll talk about the tour booking perspective. This is what I look after along with Caitlin a wee bit as well. So whether you're booking direct on a tour operator's website, or maybe you're booking through a third-party agency such as TripAdvisor or Get Your Guide, you should expect pretty good customer service across the board from any tour operator, and you shouldn't be treated any differently. What's the benefit of booking direct? Sometimes it can be a wee bit easier to create that line of customer service, to ask questions, and also to put a face to the name. It's a little bit trickier through the likes of TripAdvisor. They're a big organisation. Getting answers out of them can be tricky, and you kind of have to weave your way through to the tour operator. There's also benefits for the tour company. Let's be really honest about that. So the likes of TripAdvisor will take something like 20 to 30%, depending on a few factors from the tour operator. And often for you as a guest, it might mean that you have a few less options. So TripAdvisor is a fantastic way to find lots of different tours and compare lots of different options. But then we always recommend going straight to the tour operator's website. And you might often find that they actually have a wee bit of a deal going on, depending on the time of year. You can expect with the likes of us, but also other companies out there as well, that you'll be chatting through often email, definitely over the phone as an option as well. Again, one of the unique things for Luxe is we have a book now, pay later with 0% deposit. So you can book on our website, similar to TripAdvisor, pay 0%, and then 7 days before the tour, you will get sent an email to process your payment. So don't have to make too much commitment. You can keep the money in your back pocket until you're actually traveling. Keeps it nice and easy for you. When you're booking a tour through any company's website, you're probably going to find that there are some add-ons. The first one that would be quite typical is lunch. So for us, for example, it's not included automatically. Most of the other companies, the small group tour companies, will include a lunchbox. We've chosen to offer a hot meal on our tours, or specifically on our cruise. And that is actually an add-on because there's different flavors of things, there's different options, and so they're different pricing. And so you can choose what you would like. Another thing that you'll often find is the option to add on a helicopter tour or a scenic flight. Particularly from Queenstown, this is very popular. Adrian can speak to this later on, but we would have probably 10 to 20% of our guests from Queenstown would have some sort of flight option included on their tour. It's a fantastic way to end the day, flying across those mountains there that you see in that photo. That's the Southern Alps that divide Milford Sound and Queenstown. You can also do it with Te Anau. There's a few helicopter options, including a 30-minute flight up to a glacier, which is quite popular amongst all the companies. So a little bit about pre-tour. This is a wee bit specific to our website if you are thinking of traveling with Luxe. One of the tricky parts of booking a Milford Sound tour, particularly from Queenstown, is working out where your pickup point is. So most of the operators will have a pickup list when you're booking on their website. You'll be able to select your hotel, but not every company is not going to have every single hotel in Queenstown. There are a lot, and there are new hotels opening up probably every month in Queenstown, it seems like these days. And so they're not going to be able to keep up. And so for us, for example, we have about 75 different pickup points. And when you go on, you can either find your hotel, but if you can't find it, you can click something like Contact to Assist. And we will contact you, find out over email where you're staying, and we will find you the closest pickup point. So you don't have to stress about it. This will get sorted out well in advance, pretty much from the day you book. We will look to get that all sorted and squared away, give you the location details and the specific pickup time that you will be picked up. We send out about 3 pre-tour emails. This is really important. We often get often a wee bit guilty of hammering people with information, but we'd prefer that you have it all. And sometimes, like myself, I don't read every single email. That's fine. Life is busy, but we'll continuously send out reminders just to make sure that you know where you're being picked up and at what time. And prior to the tour, you've also got the opportunity to request anything that you might like. One of the most common ones that we find is a front seat request. And particularly from Queenstown, it is quite a bit of driving from Queenstown. It's a 12-hour day, and 8 hours of that is spent in the vehicle. So people often who may be susceptible to travel sickness want that front seat request. And you can do that on our website. You can do it on the other tour operators' websites as well. There'll always be a spot for you to write that in. If you're really concerned about travel sickness, sometimes it pays to actually get in touch with us or with the customer service of the tour operator. Just make it really clear that you are a bit nervous about it, and sometimes they might redirect you to a different pickup spot, particularly in Queenstown, so that they can actually collect you earlier in the pickup process, and so that you have a better opportunity to get into the front seats. All right, so I'll put a question maybe to you, Adrian, since we're talking about Queenstown. What do you do if someone is in maybe the wrong spot for pickup, or they're not at their pickup point when you arrive?
Well, for me, I've kind of gotten into a habit lately of just giving the guests a call. So we have your numbers taken down on the manifest for the morning pickups. And I kind of got myself in a bit of a habit, not because anyone's late, but just getting in contact and saying, hey guys, I'm here. So make sure you're at the right spot. Often at times, if it's not too far out of the way, it's pretty easy for me to just come around and pick someone up if you're close by. Sometimes it can be a bit harder. If you're on the other side of town, it does make it a bit more difficult. But the big thing is that we can get in contact with you, and that way we can kind of sort out any problems that come along. Other than that, it's pretty easy to sort out those small things as long as we can reach you and actually talk to you folks.
And probably, Adrian, would it be fair to say that the key thing with Queenstown is time factor? So yes, you'll contact the guest. You also contact the office to say, hey, I'm missing someone. And then we're basically in action, working really fast to find that person, because Queenstown to Milford Sound's a big day. We don't want to be, we can't allow to sort of wait around in Queenstown, right?
100%. Sometimes, I know it sounds a bit ridiculous, but sometimes 5-10 minutes does make a huge difference to the way that the day flows. So even if it's just being there at that whole 10 minutes earlier thing, it does help a huge amount, just because we've got other guests to pick up and want to keep the show on the road. So it's the best day for everyone out there.
Yeah, and I think actually, Adrian, I've got an example of, I think it was you one day, you did have to leave some guests behind. There was a situation where we just could not find them, right? And the end result of that was they were actually lying in their bed still in Australia. They'd booked the whole wrong date. And sometimes that happens. And we do our best to refund that, and we accept people make mistakes. But I imagine that was a hard decision for you to have to move on that morning.
It was very difficult, because a big thing for me, part of why I love this job so much, is being able to show people the place that I've fallen in love with myself. And to have to leave someone behind, it definitely hurts. But yeah, sometimes you've just got no other option.
Yeah, and Murray, with Te Anau, it's obviously a wee bit different because you're in one sort of town. Do you want to talk us through your pickup process in the morning?
Yeah, not dissimilar to some of the stuff that Adrian was just talking about, but we've got a lot more flexibility to move ourselves around town. So if I pull up at a stop and we're trying to contact the guests and it's just not working, it's not happening. And also it depends a little bit on what the weather's doing. If it's pouring down with rain, then I can continue on picking up more people from other accommodation locations, and sometimes in the meantime flick a call through to on call to Toby or Caitlin, and they're doing the investigating behind the scenes, and I get a call or a message to say, yeah, people have relocated themselves or go back, they're ready for pickup now. So Te Anau, we call it Te Anau time. We like to slow everything down as much as possible. It's a lot more, I guess, relaxed coming out of Te Anau. We're not dealing with the traffic issues that the guides are having to cope with coming out of Queenstown. And yeah, we can very quickly get back on track if there has been some reasonably short delays for all the right reasons, all the good reasons, really. Life happens, and as I say, we're only 2 minutes from anywhere in Te Anau, so I can be on one side of the town picking up people, get the call that they're good to go, and be very quickly back across town and pick them up again.
Murray, maybe as well, just a quick word on if you do have, say, for example, 6 or 7 guests who have all requested the front seat because of travel sickness, how you would sort of, I guess, manage humans, we like to call it, but negotiate between everybody of how they're going to be seated in the van, because there's only so many, few front seats to go around.
Depending on the configuration inside the coach, it can be just having those conversations. Very often you'll find, say, a family group, for instance, have got one particular individual that suffers from motion sickness, and then moving on to those other families or those other individuals. Because my experience with motion sickness, my own personal experience, is that it's just miserable, and you want to curl up in a corner and roll away and die somewhere. So we're just going to work with the people as best we can. Sometimes I have people are very kind as well. They've offered to move to the middle or the back seat of the coach and make room for someone who's feeling particularly unwell. So it's really just communicating the requirements for individuals like that. And I can't recall any time when I've been declined on a request. I've had a conversation and explained the situation, and people are very, very flexible. So it's, I don't know, just really, really fortunate like that. It can be a bit of a tour guide's nightmare when you're looking at the manifest and you've got 6 people that all want to sit in the front seating, and you might only have seating for 4 people there. But it really just comes down to having the conversations as best you can and working with the groups of people. Then when we get out on the road, once you, especially from Te Anau through to Milford Sound, and you're doing your stops, you're sometimes pulling over every 5 to 10 minutes, and people are hopping out, stretching their legs. So you're not really hammering on the road for long periods of time. And by the time you start doing that, people have forgotten that they're feeling a little bit unwell, and they're just enjoying the scenery, and they've got the colour back in their face and big smiles on their faces as well. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I remember one example, actually, it wasn't you, Adrian, but our other Queenstown guide, Tommy, he opened up the manifest one morning, and we had 13, because we have 13 seats in our van, he had 13 requests for the front seat. So that became the game of rotation, where they just continuously rotated through the day, and that's the way we managed that. And everyone sort of worked together. It became a bit of a running joke at that point. Murray, maybe just, do you want to talk about our vans in particular? Sorry to everyone applying a wee bit of bias here about our vans, but and just how they're different than some of the others out there, and what we've done to them.
The major difference between our coaches, our vans, and the other same Mercedes Sprinters that are out on the road with a variety of other tour companies is we've got less seats. We'll have a maximum seating inside our coaches for 13 people. Some of the other coaches out on the road could be carrying 16, 17 people. So we've essentially designed the seats to create space for human beings rather than, dare I say it, jam people in like sardines. And it creates levels of comfort that are not necessarily available in some of the other coaches out on the road. The big 40, 50-seater coaches, it's not quite like being in a Trans-Tasman aircraft, where your knees are up around your eyeballs, and but it's not far removed. So yeah, we've just really, one of the major factors about Luxe Tours is create space for people, and I guess the people will come. And for the last 2.5 years, anything to go by, that's pretty much what's been happening. I have a story from last year, pretty much the first day of the season, and I picked up a couple in town. They'd flown across from Melbourne the night before to Queenstown and arrived down at Te Anau that evening, stayed the night, come around to one of their pickup locations, and this guy was 6'8", and I think he was like 140 kilos or something. He's a big man, and he was walking up to the coach, and he said, I remember him saying to me, "Oh, goodness, I hope you guys have got room for me in there." And I looked him up and down, and I said, "Well, we might have a seat in the back there for you somewhere. I may have to fold you in half." And he stepped into the coach, and he looked at the amount of space he had to stretch his legs out, and he just said, "Oh my God, let me in." So it was a really good start to the day. He just settled himself in for the day, and you don't have that lingering thought in the back of your head, oh my God, I hope everybody's comfortable back there, because they just pretty much are.
Yeah, well, what a way to start the day. I mean, especially for tall people, I'm a metre 86, and yeah, when we were doing testing of different vans, yeah, it was one of the biggest things we wanted to aim to was to take out a row of seats. Didn't do so well for my back pocket, but it's well worth it. And the feedback that we hear, and happy people in the van. So we've never gone back. Murray, while we're with you, maybe just we've talked about pickup, but just give us a quick, I guess, rundown of the Te Anau to Milford Sound tour. Now, just caveat for people, guests out there, that yes, this is Luxe Tours' schedule, but this is very similar to other tour companies that are going from Te Anau. May differ a wee bit with the cruise timing. There are some that do an earlier cruise, some even a slightly later cruise, but generally the flow of the day and what it's going to include is going to look something like this, right?
Yeah, pretty much, Toby. Pickups for me in Te Anau Township kick off about 8:30 down at the Merchant, a little cafe along the main road where people can pop in for a coffee and grab a bite for breakfast if they choose to. But by 8:30, I'm moving around town, starting my pickups. And, sometimes that might just take 10 or 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 25, 30 minutes, but generally departing town around 9 a.m. On the summertime schedule. And then 10, 20 minutes down the road, we're along at Te Anau Downs and pulling into our first of our stops along the way. And that kind of sets the scene from there on in. It's somewhere around every 10 minutes or so we're pulling over to enjoy the scenery. Occasionally just driving down the road and something's happening, whether it's a sunrise or particular the river, the Eglinton River's looking particularly gorgeous this morning, and you can hear comments from the back of the coach. People are just starting up, saying things like "wow" and "oh my God," and you just know that around the corner there's a little lay-by, and you can pull over for a few minutes and let them get closer to that scenery, because a lot of what we do, a lot of the places we pull in are right alongside the road. But having said that, even in the busy season, we're always taking the time and doing our best to pull over in quiet locations. It's not always possible. Places like Mirror Lakes, for instance, one of the highlights of the journey, can be extremely busy at any day of the year, especially during the busy season from October through to end of March, April. It's so popular that there are occasions when you struggle to find a park there, but it's a highlight of the journey going in the morning, and it's an absolute must in my view. So yeah, you're just going, once you get out of town, you're going through the motions, really. You don't have to go far to find something beautiful to look at. You don't have to even be stopping to see something beautiful to look at. And again, Fiordland, a little bit of a saying, sometimes Fiordland only lets you see what she wants you to see. And there are occasions, especially in the wintertime, when you're traveling along and everything's all fogged in, and you can almost feel the mood. Okay, what are we going to see today? And before you know it, you come around the corner, the sun's gone up over the mountains, it's burned the fog off, and again you hear those comments from the back, wow, and oh my goodness. And I can remember one day I drove into the Eglinton Valley, and along the western side of the valley was 5 distinct layers of fog. And then the sun came up over the mountain in front of us, and it just hit those layers of fog and lit them all up with little mini rainbows. And it took me a little while to pull over, and 20 or 30 seconds to pull over safely and get everybody out. But the moment was gone. We didn't get any photographs to capture it, but it's stuck in my memory banks. I can tell you now, I don't need a photograph. Absolutely glorious.
Yeah, nice, Murray. And Adrian, for you from Queenstown, will be pretty straight up, and again, going to be the same on most tours, whether it's a small group or a large group. But day is a lot more compressed, right? Got to keep moving.
It is. That is one thing that people would notice. You got to move. It's not as much time to sit and just be in awe. In saying that, we do try our best to make the effort to give you those moments of sitting there and just kind of trying to understand what you're looking at and where you are. But it is quicker, so we've got an earlier pickup in the morning. ranging from 6:45 to about 7:20 at the latest. Various different spots around town. Then we'll head off towards Te Anau. So it's a bit of a slog for that part, but also it's a beautiful part of the morning. People often sleep, but also one of my favorite parts of the day, watching the sunrise. So it is actually quite a nice time of the day to just experience New Zealand in a way. But once we get to Te Anau, chance to recharge, grab a coffee, some food, about a half an hour break there. From there, got to get going at about 10 o'clock usually. So after a half an hour break, and that's where it really gets real. From there, we head off into Milford Sound. We've got all the beautiful stops, and it depends on the time of the year. I've been finding at this time during the year, I've been getting about 7 to 8 stops in, sometimes even more, just depending on how efficient everyone is. But yeah, it kind of ranges from 7 to sometimes a few more. But as long as we're down there by 1 o'clock, get you guys ready for the cruise, send you off on the boat. On the way back, it is a bit of a journey. So we got a cruise back to get back to Queenstown by a certain time. So it's basically a straight trip back to Te Anau, unless we've missed anything on the way in which case we'll do it on the way out, just to make the most of it and get everything that you've been hoping for, basically. But as long as we're staying on track to be back by kind of 8 o'clock at the latest, then we're good. That all depends on traffic, obviously, but most people tend to have a wee bit of a sleep on the way out of Milford Sound towards Te Anau. By the time we get to Te Anau, have a bit of food and whatnot, people tend to recharge a wee bit and be a bit more having some conversations and asking questions and listening to music, sometimes even the odd karaoke night on the way home to Queenstown. But yeah, it's usually a pretty good trip back, dropping off about 7:30. But
I feel like you would be one to be joining in on the karaoke, Adrian.
Just
to make people as to why the day is different for Queenstown. It's almost 600 kilometers return. It's about 580 kilometers. It is 8 hours of driving. The interesting thing we often hear is, well, I might self-drive from Queenstown to Milford Sound because then I can take my time and I can throw a walk in and I can do this, I can do that. That's all good and well, but you will be driving in the night. If you do anything that's past our basic tour schedule that most companies will stick to, you will be driving in the night in a foreign country for most people, and for some of you on the other side of the road. And so with a tour, you are going to see the key spots. Like Adrian said, we're never going to, miss some of those key ones, and quite often we'll take you to some places that are pretty off the beaten track, which is something from my perspective that I'm very proud of Luxe with the guides, is if they come up to a busy spot, I'll actually pull up these nature stops here. For example, Mirror Lakes there, that's a very, very popular stop, like the boys said. If it's absolutely chocker full with buses and people, they'll just simply drive on by, and then when we come out after the Milford Sound cruise, they'll pull in, and often there might only be 1 or 2 cars there, a few people floating around, and you actually get the place to yourself. And I'm quite proud that they're prepared to kind of take that, use their experience as a guide and take that chance and just carry on and move on to the next place. And sometimes by doing that, you actually get yourself out of a bit of a traffic train that you're in, particularly the Queenstown tour, because everyone's kind of moving through to Milford Sound together. The Te Anau one is certainly a bit more probably relaxed, more time in nature, we would say in general, but Queenstown's really suitable for those people who don't want to drive, don't want to have a rental car, and are basing themselves in Queenstown as a hub and doing all their tours and experiences for their from Queenstown. Murray, very quickly, what's your 2 sort of favourite stops that we've got here?
Oh, no question. Mirror Lakes, even on a wet, windy day when you don't get that mirror effect, it can be still a stunning little location, sort of a first place for people to get out and stretch their legs and go for a short walk. It's about 100 meters along the boardwalk that's been built above the surface of the water there. So Mirror Lakes and Marion Falls, which I've been really missing for the last several months because the Department of Conservation's been doing some serious rebuilding work in there. They've been putting a new swing bridge over the river that gets us to the other side, and then on up the track to a place called the Gantry, which again is sort of another wooden boardwalk around the edge of the river. Both those places are absolute musts for me. To be honest, like for varieties of reasons, sometimes we choose to bypass and try and fit it in at another occasion. But Marion Falls is a good steady 15-minute walk up the track, and with a little bit of coaching and a little bit of patience, even people that have had a double hip replacement, knee replacements, a bad back, they've got a walking stick, just take your time. We're not in a hurry. We'll get you there.
That's you, Murray, isn't it? Every day, you're the double hip
Yeah, pretty
replacement.
much things over here. You're broken down.
Adrian, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I've got two different ones that I consider my favorites for different reasons here. Honestly, one of my favorites is actually the Eglinton Valley. I like to kind of see it in my head as almost a gateway into Milford Sound. It's kind of a gateway into what we're about to see. And I try to hold my tongue a lot because I get to this point and everyone's going, wow, that's just amazing, da, da, da. And I'm thinking to myself, you've seen nothing yet. Just wait. It's kind of just also often a chance to just sit there and take in how quiet the busiest tourist base in New Zealand is. And so it's a special place for me to just sit there and just kind of be in awe. And then the other one is actually the Monkey Creek area, which is kind of located in the Holyford Valley. And the reason why I like that spot so much is it kind of makes you feel really small, and it makes you kind of question whether anything going on is actually that much of a big deal. I don't know. It's a very powerful spot for me, at least. I don't know if you guys have found the same, but it's one of those spots you kind of just sit there and stare at it and think, wow. Yeah, those would be my favorite spots along the way.
When I was taking tours, I'm stuck in my office a bit more these days, but when I was guiding and taking tours, I'd always have a bit of a daily running joke with my guests that I'll rank each stop as we go out of 1 to 10, and it basically starts at Te Anau Downs at a 1. So folks, if you're watching on the screen there, you can see that top left place, Te Anau Downs, looks pretty scenic. It's certainly a beautiful place, pretty scenic, but I call it about a 1 out of 10. And what I mean by that is not the quality of that place. It's beautiful, but compared to what we're going to see later on in the journey. And I'll just throw a shout out to Cliff Eye Valley, the last one, bottom right corner. It's my favorite place. It was one of the places where Caitlin and I stood on our own in the middle of winter. It was completely white, and we decided that, yes, we were going to push forward with starting a tour business in Milford Sound. It actually all started in Eglinton Valley on the side of the road, where we watched dozens of buses flying past us and thought there's got to be a better way to do this. But it was confirmed in Cliff Eye Valley one day. And the day after, we ordered the first van that we now have. So I'll just talk quickly, folks, to tour inclusions. Now, again, this will be applicable to actually a lot of tours out there, but some are a wee bit unique to us. So most Milford Sound tours are going to include pickup or drop off from set locations. You will find with large group tours, that's big buses, that there will be a lot less pickup locations because they can't stop for 1 or 2 people all the way out of Queenstown. They might be trying to sort of group people together and get them onto the bus and get going. When it comes to a small group tour, you're going to find that most tour operators to Milford Sound are operating a Mercedes Sprinter van. We call ours premium because of how we've redesigned the inside of them. You're going to have those scenic stops, the commentary. We provide unlimited water and a drink bottle for you to keep. We also provide, I have to talk to our marketing manager because she's giving everything away here of what we do. But you are going to get something like a muffin on the Queenstown tour, and the same on Te Anau, but with also coffee and tea that Murray will make you. We've got things like umbrellas, hand warmers, a couple of spare jackets, even if it's a really wet day and you've forgotten your own jacket. The weather is very changeable through to Milford Sound. Your tour price is going to include your Milford Sound cruise price 9 times out of 10. It would be very rare that you wouldn't be on a cruise. There's actually not too much else to do in Milford Sound. There's a couple of things. There's some day hikes. You can start the Milford you can finish the Milford track there. There's a kayaking tour, but really it is all about the cruise. One of the other things we include is reserved seating for you on the cruise. So when you walk onto the boat, you don't have to worry, particularly on a wet day, that you're not going to have a seat. And because we're serving lunch there, we've got that reserved seat there for you. Maybe, Murray, you want to talk a wee bit about just some of the unique benefits in your mind of a small group tour. I mean, most of it's up there for the folks watching, but what would you say, small group versus large group? You have driven large buses in the past. What's the difference with the small group?
A lot more opportunity to get to know people. Like we're only carrying 13 people in our coaches, but even on some of the other tour operators, if they've got 16 or 17 people, it's still a relatively small number of people. When, as a tour guide, I kind of moved in this direction to, might sound a bit funny, to get closer to people. You could be in a coach with 40 or 50 other people, and you didn't really have the time to connect with individuals. But the type of tour that we're running, we've got that time. By the end of the day, you're on first name basis, and you've met families, you've heard some life stories, you've taken them and shown them some beautiful locations, and it really is quite a rewarding way for me anyway to run a tour. The people, well, they've got space. They're not moving through the scenery too quickly without stopping and enjoying some of the beautiful places. The big coaches going through to Milford Sound, they may only do 3, maybe 4 stops maximum on some occasions. And a lot of that is just really, given the size of the vehicle, they just can't pull into some of the little places that we can get into. So they've got to bypass and move on. And yeah, you're not sharing the day with, or at least on the coach part of the journey, the traveling part of the journey, you're not sharing the day with 50 other people. It's a few people, not even necessarily rubbing shoulders with them. You could potentially be seated in your own couple of seats, or a family up down the rear of the coach, and they've all got plenty of space together as well. So real advantages in that. Nature walks, we can get out and stretch our legs. Not to say that some of the other big tour operators can't fit a walk in as well if they're well ahead of time. Their drivers, their driver guides, all the people in the industry, no matter whether you're working in a counter and one at Milford Sound at the terminal there, or you're out on the road driving a vehicle as we are, want to deliver to the highest standard possible to give the people that are coming into this area the best opportunity to have a wonderful guest experience. So, but there are factors that come into play in driving a big coach. You're not as nimble. You can't just go, my gosh, look at that river, I'm going to pull over and enjoy that for 5 minutes today. You just don't have that flexibility many occasions. So yeah, we're able to move just through the environment. Yeah, take the opportunities when they arise.
Yeah, exactly. And Adrian, I know you haven't been involved with large group tours, as we said, Murray has, but what do you see out on the road that you think is good about large group tours that, from on your day-to-day?
Good about the large group tours?
Yeah.
For me, I guess one of the things, because it seems to be a bit of this is an odd one to think about, but not only for the guests on board, but also for us kind of behind them. I actually quite like the big buses out on the road. I kind of see them as a few reasons. They're firstly a pacemaker. Like if you're in line with the bus, you're like, cool, there's no worries. I know where they're at, so we're going to be very similar on time. That's firstly just a great thing to set you at ease. But another one, I often personally like sitting behind them because they're almost a bit of a barrier between anything else in front of you and then the bus. That's just one thing I personally really like. But the big coaches, if you're someone that perhaps isn't wanting to chat, which is totally cool, people are who they are. So maybe you just want to sit there and enjoy the scenery and not have all these little conversations and take your social battery away. I feel like that's probably something that would fit quite nicely, because you can just sit there and not feel odd for not wanting to talk. Not saying that that's the case either on the small ones, but I think it's just a better environment for that. Whereas I feel more on the smaller tours, people are chatting in amongst themselves. So if you're a bit of a maybe socially anxious and just want to have your own time, I feel like that's a pretty decent reason. That would be probably my biggest thing that I see as a big.
It's an interesting point. We were actually talking about this morning in the team. Yeah, that some people just really want to sit with their partner and look out the window, or even fall asleep, or apart from the snoring, not be seen or heard. And a big bus is a good way to hide. The other thing I'd say from our perspective is that, guys, a small group tour will be more pricier than a large group tour. It's just you can split the cost of the bus and all the overheads of the business, I guess, on a bus amongst 50 people. We can't do that with vans of 13 people or 15 people. So you are going to have a higher price per seat. Things like your fuel, your driver's wages are split amongst less people. So we see that question quite a bit on travel forums. Why is, for example, I'll just use Real NZ as an example, why are they so much cheaper than Luxe Tours or whoever else? It's simply economics, but you are getting a different experience. There's pros and cons with small and large group tours. I like the one, Adrian, that they're going to kind of be the barge pole or the bumper bar in front of you. We joke about that, but in all seriousness, there are aspects of the drive, particularly from Queenstown, where we see some really interesting stuff. And the road. It's not the road necessarily that's dangerous, it's some of the behavior that happens on the road that can be dangerous. Passing in blind corners and cars in the wrong lane. Sometimes it's nice to be following a bus, and the buses are limited to 90 k's an hour. At Luxe, we feel that's pretty comfortable to be driving along on the main open road. In the big, long, straight stretches, we don't need to be sort of hitting 100 k's all the time. A lot more comfortable at a slightly reduced speed. I'll summarise, guys, the Te Anau to Milford Sound tour versus Queenstown, so you guys don't argue too much. But the key difference is Te Anau is quicker, or a shorter day, I should say. It's 9 hours. You'll spend 4 hours of that, just under 4 hours sitting in your seat in the van, versus 8 hours in the seat from Queenstown. You will have a slightly later start from Te Anau, usually around 8:30. Some of our other friends, for example, Fueled and Tours, Trips and Tramps, who operate out of Te Anau to Milford Sound, they do have some options around 7:30, which are good as well, early morning cruise. In the peak summer months, we also have an early morning tour that leaves to give people that earlier cruise option, maybe finish the day a wee bit sooner. For Queenstown, you're going to find that 99 out of 100 tours leave between 6:30 and about 8 a.m. at the absolute latest. Some of that actually comes down to how long a driver in New Zealand can drive for, 13 hours max. So the tour takes about 12 hours. And as Adrian well knows, it doesn't leave much wiggle room. And so you are moving a bit more through the day, but still a nice 30-minute stop with us in Te Anau, and then some good time out in nature. And we try to do things efficiently, especially with those pickups in the morning, so that you get more time in the scenic stops. A lot of tours from Te Anau will include some sort of snack or food option. Maybe it's lunch or morning tea. We offer morning tea with a hot drink or a cold drink if you want it, as well as the ability to add on a lunch on the cruise, and that's the same for Queenstown as well. Queenstown is perfect if you're wanting to base yourself there, or you have a compressed trip time. So, for example, you might be coming from Australia for maybe a 3 or 4 or 5 day trip, going to Milford Sound from Queenstown. Leaving a rental car behind is the perfect option. Maybe you're just going to fly into Queenstown Airport, Uber into your hotel, do everything from there. You can do Glenorchy, Mount Cook, Milford Sound, Doubtful Sound, and then all of the other things that Queenstown has to offer. If you're a wee bit more, or got a wee bit more time, or you want to get out on the road by yourselves, with your partner or family or whoever it is, you can come from Queenstown to Te Anau in a rental car, but then still jump on a tour for the day. A lot of people love the tour. I don't know about you guys, but I hear this a lot, is that my husband or my wife didn't have to drive to Milford Sound. They got to enjoy the scenery instead. Usually there's one person that's doing a lot of the driving. The road to Milford Sound is spectacular most days. In whatever form that she Fielden wants to show you, there's something to see. It's the perfect road to just take a break from driving and let the likes of Murray and Adrian do it all. Because yes, they've been in hundreds of times, but I can almost guarantee every day they find something new or even learn something new about the area, and you kind of be part of that experience with them in discovery, basically. Adrian, sort of just coming towards the end, we've got the points here, but maybe you want to speak to a couple of them as the key benefits of a tour in general to Milford Sound.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ones that I personally hear a lot, so something I like to do at the end of the day, just out of curiosity, is ask people what the highlights of the day was. And something that does get brought up a lot is actually that first point you see on the screen there, which is you're guided by a local. All the stories, the knowledge that Murray and myself and the other guides have put their time into learning, and stuff we're quite passionate about. And yes, you could spend your time researching it all yourself, but I feel like that's a lot of work. And you probably just won't put it in. But yeah, that's a huge advantage, as you can sit there and listen to the local stories and little tidbits of things that have happened there in the past and what exactly you're looking at. The other one is safety. So I'm going to actually go through a few on the screen here. The safety, for me personally, is a big one. That for me is paramount on the road. And there's a lot that we see going on, whether it's rental cars or locals themselves. The way that you see some of the driving out there is just, it's as I describe, as colourful. And so if you do get a bit nervous on the road, you're just a bit worried, being with someone that drives that road every day, they know the ins and outs of what's perhaps could be in a little icy spot or a bit more dodgy than usual. And so they know these areas, which makes a huge difference just to the comfort of the actual trip. So that kind of plays into that third point there, which is the icy roads and where is safe and where you may not want to be hopping out because it's icy on the footpath and slipping's a potential, all these kind of small parts of what could make or break a trip in my mind. But the other one, transmedia travelers, that's actually really cool. Often I have people leaving at the end of the day, taking details of the person they've been sat next to. Maybe they're in a close town right next to each other. I actually had some folks on one of my trips about a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, where they were both from England, and they found out that they lived 3 streets apart. They'd never met each other before, were on my van together and happened to live 3 streets away at home, which I thought was just... You miss a lot when you're driving. That's one of the parts I enjoy the most about driving for me, as it's my kind of job, is that I get to see new things every day. But if you're only going there once, you don't want to be missing it. So being able to just sit there and kind of look out the window is a huge benefit in my mind. That's kind of the things that I've got for you.
Yeah, nice. And one of those, safety, obviously it's probably, it is our biggest focus every day at Luxe when we talk about driving. So protecting the guides, protecting the guests, protecting the guides. They're 2 main, key points of success for the day. Murray, on safety, obviously we're right bam smack in the middle of winter at the moment. I think we're even expecting some heavy snow maybe towards the end of the week. We had some last week. We haven't had too much impact this winter yet, the odd day, but no real delays or closures of the road. But what should people be thinking about? And this is really as well for those who are thinking about self-driving still, if we haven't convinced you to take a tour. But if you're self-driving or taking a tour, what do people need to be thinking about in, sort of from July through to around November on the Milford Road?
Come July, we are well and truly into the middle part of our winter. And so road conditions, a little bit of ice on the road today, for instance, the local roading gang, the road crew that are out there every day of the year, they're little road angels. They're out inspecting the road, and they'll put signs out in some of the very common locations wherever they find black ice. Commonly known as black ice because you're just driving down the road, you can't see it. The next thing you know, the vehicle is starting to move around on the road. So the signage comes out. Black ice and speed are just a disaster, a recipe for disaster. So whenever you see, if you're out on the road and you're driving along and there's a little witch's hat in the middle of the road with a sign that says black ice, slow down, reduce your speed, because the next corner that you're about to go around, you may just end up going straight ahead. So too much speed carried into an icy corner, and you probably won't get around the corner completely. And if you do, you probably come around the corner sideways. Then we have things like snow conditions. We've had a little bit of snow just over the last recent period of time. I'd have to say it's a light dusting of snow, so nothing too serious. But once again, the road maintenance team's out there. They've either got the snow plows moving through the environment, through the road, spreading grit, crushed rock onto the road behind them. Sometimes the team assess the conditions as requiring snow chains. And as commercial operators, we're all required by law to carry snow chains from the 1st of May pretty much through to the end of November. But we actually choose to carry them 365 days a year because it's alpine region, big storms coming in off the Southern Ocean. The snow can hit the road any time of the year, and you need the equipment. And you need to know how to fit them on, because some of them, if you're not used to fitting snow chains, you may as well not bother coming, to be fair. The snow's forecast. They can be wonderful devices to have. They can get you out of an awful lot of trouble. In fact, my philosophy is you put snow chains to get yourself out of trouble, not into trouble. So in other words, don't keep going when that little voice on your shoulder is going, turn back, turn back. It's probably time to turn back 20 minutes ago. I can hear my wife in the background saying, Murray, you should have turned around. There's a lot of truth in that. So yeah, this winter driving conditions can be quite treacherous, but they can also be some of the most beautiful driving experiences you're ever going to get anywhere in the world. It's just a case of getting your head in the right space. Slowing down is the best piece of advice I'll ever give anybody. And also assessing and allowing yourself time to actually enjoy the journey, no matter what the conditions are, so that when you get to the end of the road to Milford Sound, you've got time to find a park, time to walk around to the terminal, time to visit the restrooms, time to get yourself checked in, and then time to wander out casually and get on board the vessel that you're about to go cruising on. Probably the biggest factor that comes into play for people speeding along the roads and making some poor decisions is the fact they've realised they're running out of time, and they're in a hurry to get through. One of the other factors is all the tour operators in there will bend over backwards. If someone's arrived in, just missed their tour, the companies will work with each other, hand over fist, to try and find available seats, maybe get them on the next cruise. Of course, that's something that people don't realise or they're not aware of, but they're very flexible. Where possible, they will work with the other companies. And people have travelled a long way. They've come from the other side of the world. They've come through sometimes treacherous conditions. They're late for whatever reason, so the staff in there will work as hard as they can to get people onto a cruise at some point. It might not necessarily be the one they planned on going on, but they'll do their best. So yeah, driving conditions, slow down, some time, plan your trip.
Yeah, nice. Plan the trip, and there's so many resources out there as well nowadays to help plan the ins and outs of your trip, whether it's from Te Anau or Queenstown. We're almost at the end, guys. You've done very well. You can't tell that you're all shaking. We're both shaking nervous behind the scenes, but we are almost there. We're coming up to Q&A session. I just want to apologise for our technical difficulties at the start for those who maybe just joined us through our main Luxe Tours page instead of the event that we'd created. As I say, we just got internet in New Zealand, so we're still learning the gist of all this. But if you do have a question, put it down in the comment section now, because we are about to come to Q&A. But just for those of you who think, yeah, actually Luxe Tours is the company that I want to look into, we do have a winter promo going until the end of September. It is a wee bit quieter in winter. Prices are reduced. We get some savings with our suppliers and things like that as well. In winter, we're able to pass that on to you. So it's applicable up until the 30th of September. You can use the promo code there when booking on our website, winter40, but also you can sign up for that on our website if you don't have time to write that down right now. And it's applicable to all our tours that involve Milford Sound at the moment. So time for some Q&A, guys. I'll answer some of them, but I might put a few of them to you. We had a question from Jeff. Do you ring or text people, as I'm getting a SIM or eSIM for his phone when he arrives, which gives me text and data but not call? So Jeff, we'll typically start with a phone call just because it's simply quicker, but if we don't get through to you, we know obviously straight away. We'll text. from our system. Sometimes on rare occasions, we will also use WhatsApp. That is reasonably rare. Usually if you can receive a text, you can receive a WhatsApp. So we'll often go with texting. And Jeff also said, booked for a tour 14th to the 10th, tried to book an early tour but was unavailable. So the reason for that is we don't operate the early tour, 7:30 departure from Te Anau, by the way, we're talking about here. We don't operate it until November, just simply because of the weather. We learned a pretty harsh lesson last year where snow and avalanche season here in Fiordland just carried on right through October. So we saved the early morning tour for November till we have good light, bit more warmth and much safer conditions on the road. From Tash, for guests that are doing the helicopter back, what time frame would they be looking at getting back to Queenstown? So Adrian, in winter, you drop them off to the Milford Sound Airport after their cruise at 3:30. It's about an hour flight, give or take. So 4:30 to 5, we would say.
That's pretty fair, and that's kind of, I'd say it's a time including the drop off to your hotel or wherever you're staying. That's a pretty fair time frame, yeah.
Yep. So the helicopter company is going to take you from the helipad, which is just a wee bit out of Queenstown, and take you back to your accommodation. Question from Amanda. Amanda, this is a really common one. So if two people are booked on the tour together and are the last two on the van, will there be 2 seats together or might you get separated? So we're going to be completely honest here, Murray. We can't 100% guarantee it, can we?
No. As we're going through doing our pickups, sometimes the last 2 seats in the coach are split. So you might find, for instance, that you're sitting one in front, one in back along one side of the coach. There are occasions when we've had individual travellers and they offer to give up or move their seat, so they go and sit by themselves, and we can put the couple of people back together. But yes, in all honesty, there are occasions when people are separated.
Yeah, one caveat I would say, add to that, and I say this to guests quite often, is you will be out of the van so many times that you have lots of opportunity to stand out in nature with each other, and we'll even let you hold hands if you want to. So yes, Adrian, would it be fair to say maybe once or twice a week we would have a couple in our vans? Like every tour has this problem, but there would be a couple that would be split up, but we just work with them to make sure they get lots of time together.
I would say that that's even on the higher end. It does happen. Yes, we do try our best to try and fit people together. And I've had it actually happen a few times with people in the morning, they're a bit upset they can't see it, which I totally understand. But by the time we're getting into Milford Sound, and I've asked them again, like, hey guys, how are you feeling about not being right next to each other? Actually, we're cool. We're quite enjoying being sat one behind each other. Not because they don't want to be with the partner, of course, but throughout the day, they kind of realize, hey, we are spending lots of time. You're still just there. But of course, it is something that it does happen. We do try our best to work around it when we can. And obviously, that's just communicating and talking about how it's going throughout the day kind of thing.
My wife is very quick to leave me sitting in a different row when we go on an airplane. So it must be nice. Another question from Amanda. This is a good one. So if you booked the tour, this is one of our specific tours, Milford Sound plus the glowworm package. Is there any way you can do the glowworms at an earlier time than 11 a.m. in summer? Amanda, yes. The answer is yes. There is off the top of my head, 9:15. You could just simply email us at bookings@luxetours.co.nz. We'll change you over. We just do it as 11 a.m. as the generic option for that, because we find most people are checking out of their hotel accommodation around 10 o'clock, might go and grab something to eat, then head down to the glowrooms check-in area. But you can absolutely do it earlier. You can even do it the night before if you wish to. Just get in contact with us. Another one, we have a booking on October the 4th from Queenstown, but 2 are considering helicopter tour as well as going back to Queenstown. Can that be arranged? Absolutely, we can split you. So I was actually working with a group of 4 today, where 2 want to fly back, 2 want to go on the van. Absolutely fine. You just have to spend more time with Adrian. So if you're happy to do that, then 2 can go back with him. If you have an early pickup from Queenstown, are you able to bring food to eat on the van, Adrian?
Absolutely. As long as you've been plenty to share. No, but yeah, food's welcome on board totally throughout the entire day. I've got a vacuum in the back of the van to tidy it up when we can. Yeah, so that's not a worry whatsoever.
Yeah. What kind of weather would cancel the helicopter flight and alpine landing? Well, if you have booked a helicopter or a flight, or you are thinking about it, full disclaimer, it's something like 30 to 40% of flights in or out of Milford Sound are cancelled. And one of the questions we get is, will Sunday, the 5th of November, be a better day to fly? Short answer is we have no idea. We started this morning, Adrian, with our helicopter guests going on the helicopter. By 3 o'clock, it was a no-go. The weather had come in and enveloped the entire area. So it changes very quickly here. If you are booked on a helicopter or plane flight with any tour operator and that flight does not go ahead, you will be fully refunded that portion of your ticket. There is absolutely no way you will not be refunded. If you're not, contact us and we'll give them a call and tell them what's what. But you will absolutely be refunded. You will come back on the van out of Milford Sound. So a good question before, from, I think it was from Amanda maybe, what time will you get back on the helicopter or plane from Milford Sound to Queenstown? Pretty much 5 o'clock. But you just need to keep in mind that there is a reasonable chance there will be a cancellation and you will get back on the van, which will be more like 7:30 to 8 o'clock. So if you're making dinner reservations, just be very careful. Maybe have a backup option if you do end up on the van. And it's always disappointing to not to go on the flight. But trust me, you do not want to be up there in some of the conditions that we can get very quickly here in Fiordland. Another question here. Hello, I've booked for 3 guests on 16th of August, 2 adults, 1 child. It's not a question, it's a statement. Looking forward for this trip. Thank you, Sunil. We appreciate that. A couple more people going with us. From David, we absolutely loved our tour, and whoever came up with the idea, light bulb moment of taking out 1 row of seats to give us more leg room. Fantastic. Oh, and those fresh muffins Murray handed out with a hot drink. The best. I'm ready to come back. Murray, they're probably the muffins that you made that day, right?
That's an old family recipe. Definitely an old family recipe, and I'd have to kill myself rather than give out the recipe. So come on around. I'll bake you a muffin.
Murray, actually a question for you from Jeff. What type of waterproof clothing would you recommend people to bring for the tour?
Good question. Anything that's water resistant is very helpful. Look, again, I'm going to be brutally honest. When it rains in Fiordland, you're going to get wet. We'll hand out umbrellas. We can hand out raincoats. You can have any amount of wet weather gear, but even for some of those short interactions, getting in and out of the coach, the water just finds a way of getting in. Another question I often ask people on a rainy day coming back into Te Anau: how's your day been, folks? Have you had a good day? And unanimous noises from the back of the coach going, oh, look, it's been amazing. And yet I'm wet, they're wet, everybody's wet, but they've still had a fantastic day out there in one of the wettest parts on the planet. So, light rain, not too much of a challenge for anybody. Just waterproof, warm clothing at this time of the year, layers, anything like that can help keep your comfort level within reason. But on a really wet day, which is my favourite time to travel into Milford, some days I'm coming out and I'm going, my feet are wet, my head's wet, I've got water running down the back of my neck, but I'm still driving along with a big stupid smile on my face. So it's a good day out.
Yeah, and what is it between Christie Falls Bridge and the end of Milford Sound? So for the guests, or for the people watching out there, Christie Falls is one of our scenic stops on the way to Milford Sound. From there to the end of Milford Sound is probably something like 40 kilometres maybe. On a very wet day, there are over 2,000 waterfalls between those 2 points, and it boggles belief that is real, but someone has counted it. But yeah, a very, very pouring down wet day is all of our favourite sorts of day to Milford Sound, so folks, don't be put off. Guys, we've come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very, very much, Adrian and Murray, for your time. Really appreciate it. I'll give you each a chocolate bar after this, but yeah, really thank you for coming in after a big day out on the road to Milford Sound, and really appreciate it. everyone out there, thank you very much for coming to a webinar. Here's a couple of sources of information for you. So our website, luxetours.co.nz, there are over 130 articles on there now written by our team, both our guides and also our research writer here at Lux, Alice. We have over 30 videos, long form videos now on different topics. We understand that you may not choose to go with Luxe Tours. That's absolutely fine, but there's heaps of information there to guide you, and you're welcome to go on there, use our website for your planning. If you have any other questions, for those who are thinking about doing a tour, whether it's with us or not, or you are booked with us, feel free to always email hello@luxetours.co.nz. I'll also put up one more thing, which is our e-guide. There's a QR code just appearing on the top right corner of your screen now. Either screenshot that or take a photo of that QR code while you've got a chance now. That'll take you to our free e-guide, a 30-page plus document that you can download. Absolutely free. You don't even have to put your email address in for it. We don't ask for that. We're not interested in sending you a whole heap of marketing. You can just download that for free, and it will give you some guidance on planning your Milford Sound trip, whether it's self-driving or tour. So thank you very much, everybody out there, for joining us. One of our biggest webinars so far. We really appreciate the support. Whether you're going with us or you're going with someone else, we'll see you in Milford Sound, and thanks again.